Thank you guys so much for taking the time to chat with me and TechRaptor here. I've now seen the first two episodes. A lot of what we'll be talking about will probably just be the first episode. Give people some chance to watch the second episode because yikes.
Sure. Yeah, right.
Yeah, we really go for it, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yep.
Feelings change. I feel like everyone's like, "Oh, cute Stoat family," and then it's like episode 2. Okay, here we go.
Oh man, not even episode 2. You get about halfway through episode 1 before
True.
stuff starts getting pretty menacing.
Yeah.
So much of the personality in tabletop characters that we make are in the choices of what they wear or the way that they style themselves. And immediately a thing that was noticed and joked about is that stoats don't wear any clothes. So what approaches did you guys make to the appearances of your stoats to ensure that they stood out in the crowd?
I feel like you got to go first on this, Rashawn, because you definitely took more liberties than the rest of us.
Yeah, Abria made it very plain and clear at our character creation that these were not like anthropomorphic creatures, that we were living in the wild and that we were not supposed to have clothes of any sort. And the way that I skirted around that is how I've skirted around every DM's request I've ever had, is maybe if I did a little different. So I thought, also because we mentioned cult leader, and I was trying to establish this kind of Lady Macbeth sort of larger than life female character, and I feel like those women always have something that adorns them to set them out from the crowd. Is it a crown? Is it like a gorgeous cape or something like that? So I just thought I would lean on what are the resources that an animal would have, and they're naturally occurring dyes that happen. You can tea leaves and all of those things. So I thought this thing would just like burrow into the ground and just get dirtied up, but would get dirtied up in things that look beautiful, like marigolds, or like what's the center part of a flower, just have that like dusty part. And I just leaned into kind of the church lady, boss lady, kind of uppity lady that you might see around the congregation and think that, oh, she's so fabulous, but she may be hard to approach.
Yeah, and slightly terrifying in the best way,
but so adorable. And don't you just want to rub her tummy?
Absolutely. But no one rub my wife's tummy, please. Thank you.
Please don't.
I think for me, as an actor, I really like working physically. And so, and I've always kind of really, that's how I key into characters, more so than kind of like any visual aesthetic for me. So it's always been about like finding a physicality for them. And I decided kind of quite early on that Thorne was going to have this kind of slightly lanky, a little bit more kind of awkward looking, because if you look at videos of stoats, it's got a very bouncy and kind of, so I was like, oh, I wonder if he could have a slightly more kind of just awkward sort of gait and and just sort of be slightly more elongated, literally like physically, and that kind of gave me a really good sense of character. And then after we started talking about the backstory and that he was this sort of nomadic, he had this nomadic upbringing. He didn't have, he didn't live in these like safe, secure kind of warrens. I started thinking about these scars and things like that. And again, that kind of all just really helped me kind of paint a picture of what I was imagining with Thorne as this kind of slightly scrappy, wiry, a little bit like on edge, kind of constant, slightly anxious because there's something around every corner type thing. I feel like, and it's really interesting as well because I think when we meet Thorne at the beginning of this, at the beginning of the series, I feel like Viola's just really starting to like rub off on him and sort of smooth him out a little bit, just for Abria to kick him in the chin and halfway through episode 1 and put him right back on his anxiety. So yeah, I think mine's definitely more kind of physicality based. And I think for honestly, for all of us, there was a big thing of like, picking what they were going to look like and, the kind of different colored fur and that kind of thing, just to sort of set ourselves out from one another, which was quite fun. And I think helped all of us, I think, make those little character choices and differences.
You introduced Thorne in episode 1 as a reluctant cult leader. Yes. So he's gone from, nomadic place to now part of a family. How does he end up with a cult? Like, where's the leap there?
Sure, I won't give away too many. I won't give away any spoilers, but the basically there is something to do with his past. The shit that he has seen, as I referenced many times in episode 1, results in him kind of realizing that he has gifts and kind of the ability to hear and listen to the forest in a way that other stoats and other animals don't. And so I think purely out of and the reason why it's a reluctancy is because people kind of flock to him and his power and his kind of knowledge and foresight, as opposed to him kind of actively seeking it out. And where he kind of always meant for it to be kind of like a democracy, he realized that, a lot of the animals that are sticking with us, like the badger, for instance, they aren't as intelligent as we are. Like, just, literally, they're just sticking around for protection, and they know that actually there is a hierarchy here already. And then it was about realizing that I was willing to take on the responsibility as opposed to wanting to, and actually that willingness alone was more than what a lot of the other animals or people that we were traveling with had. And so it felt very important to Thorne to assume that role, even if he didn't want to assume that role, because he was like, well, I know how to survive. I've survived this long and I've done a pretty good job of it. So I'm going to kind of pass that, hopefully pass that on to people like his beacons. So I think that's kind of how he kind of ended up with the cult, and why he's definitely reluctant.
Behind every strong man, as always, is a stronger female in Viola. What was it like building up the character to where she is, but also the relationship that she has being this powerful figure in the cult?
She was kind of running towards herself from two different directions. Like, within the family structure before, she got together with Thorne, I think of a family structure of just like, who am I amongst my family, more than just someone's daughter, someone's auntie. Just am I a stoat, or what kind of stoat I am? And then from the other side, seeing that there's so much more out there, and she's so much bigger than she ever thought she could be, being with someone like Thorne, who literally has an eye to the outside world. So she's kind of racing towards the center of herself, of how do we balance all of these things. It's kind of that major question: how do I get everything I want and still be happy about it at the same time? So I kind of like going from two different places and seeing where I end up on the scale. Maybe I'm a little bit, I often say myself, I'm like 3 different people in once, and I'm just trying to like maintain Rashawn. If you wouldn't meet the other 2, I'm having a day.
Met at least 2 of them, and they're both fun, so that's good.
They come out. They help form the characters for sure.
I want to send some flowers to Rashawn's way, because like both as a character, as like a husband and wife duo, and inside this fiction, but also kind of like above the table, like the strength and energy that Rashawn came in with at the table made me feel so much more confident, and like genuinely felt like supported, like the supported little husband in both like above table and below table. It was really, really lovely.
Oh yeah, we were wrapped around each other's pinky, and we're just like, it's super cool that we're here, and let's not scream joy every single time, but like let's just be cool about it. Right when we walk in, right, we're gonna be cool, and then
we immediately walked in, like,
oh my god, I'm sitting here, oh my god, there's dice there, look at this, look at all the it was surreal, and I was so thankful. Thank you, Jasper. I will have to send flowers also back your way. You were just like a great co-pilot to have, of like, we're both brand new in this place, and they welcomed us with open arms, but we still got to be like, we can nerd. Still gonna bring it. Still gonna bring a show, and she bring it to you every ball. Okay.
So you're both newcomers to the Dome. I know that you both have history in Dungeons and Dragons and tabletop RPGs. But what was it like, getting the call to be on this project?
I had been lucky that this last year that I've been able to do some dropout like material. I've been on a couple of their other programs, and not every time I would come on set, they'd like, I do a little COVID test, and they did everything that was, above board. Dropout goes above and beyond to make sure that everybody's safe whenever they come in. And I would be like, hey, yeah, that was cool. I know I just sang with Wayne Brady, but could somebody tell Brennan I play D&D? Please, somebody say something to somebody. And they're like, yeah, that's great. And then book me on the next thing. And then I got an email that was like, hey, would you be in, or do you have any, familiarity with tabletops or D&D? And I was like, if this is what I think it is, yes, I will. Yes, whatever it is, yes, I want to do it. And finding out that it was Abria is the DM, and I just anyone as the DM would have been incredible, but for Abria, I've just felt like, oh my god, something is shining down on me. I thought it was a prank. I was like, this is very rude. This is very elaborate. And good on you, but not cool. And then seeing who else was in the cast after saying yes, and then her, we have that initial email and saying like, oh my god, Jasper, oh my god, Brennan, oh my god, Izzy, oh my god, Erica, oh my gosh, Siobhan, like all of these amazing people that I've enjoyed their content for a long time. So it was overwhelming to me of like, oh my god, this is real. I get to finally be sitting at the table that I'd been like staring at for years. Like, oh my God, wouldn't it be so rad to just sit there and be immersed in this world? And I really am thankful that I feel like I was in the most immersive inner like play. I feel like I was back in my theater days of like, I'm in a play, I'm in an improv show, and I'm playing a game all at the same time. And we're writing it and directing it all together kind of at the same time. And there are so many wonderful people who are making this come together.
Funnily enough, my kind of like the journey I think started when I went to Big Bad Con last year, and I ended up flying from Big Bad Con in San Francisco to LA, where I planned this little one shot, which is in this fictional place called Wakandel, which is what if you mashed Rivendell and Wakanda into one thing. And I had Bria in that game. We filmed it over at the Headgum Studios, and because I was staying with Emily and Murph from NADPod, and then I was like, oh, but they had to go out of town, so I was like, oh guys, does anyone have any like, does anyone know of anyone who's got like a sofa? And Bria was just immediately like, come and crash on my sofa, it's fine. And we during that Wakanda one shot, I remember there was a point where I made like Bria started crying, and we were really in it, and it was amazing. And I remember like phoning my wife and then being like, I got Bria crying. I think that's really like, it was like really amazing. I think I did a good job. Like, oh wow, it feels really cool.
Yes.
Oh wow. And I remember just being so kind of blown away having got to meet Bria, let alone play with her. And then basically ended up staying at her house, and she was like, I love playing with you today, and I think you're amazing. I'm going to get you in on something this year. That's what she said. She's like, I'm going to get you in on something. And I was like, all right, whatever. Like, that's obviously not going to happen. And then I will never forget having getting an email from or a WhatsApp message from Brennan Lee Mulligan being like, hey dude, do you have time for a quick Zoom? And I was like, dude,
yeah.
what? Brennan Lee Mulligan doesn't have time for a quick Zoom with anyone. Like, that dude's busy. What's happening? And literally, and then the worst part was he messaged me, I think, no, sorry, it was Carlos had messaged me saying, have you got a message from Brennan yet? And I was like, what? What does that mean? And then, but then that was because Carlos was up late. So he'd messaged me at like midnight, his time, which was like 7 or 8 in the morning, my time, which meant I had the full day waiting for Brennan to wake his ass up for me to then. And I'm sitting there with my wife. We're talking like, what do we think it is? What do you think it is? Oh, it's gonna be this. It's gonna be this. Oh, it's just probably like a venturing party or something like that. It'll be nothing big. It's nothing major. Whatever. And then I've got the full day. Then Brennan messaged me, do you have time for a quick Zoom? I was like, of course I do. Just name a time. I jump on the thing, and Brennan's like, hey, we want you in the latest series of Dimension 20. And I honestly, I'm so proud of myself. The best acting I've ever done was not having a complete panic attack on the Zoom with Brennan right there and then. Because as I've said many times, I was a huge fan of Dimension 20 before I was anyone in this space. Like 5 years ago, my friend Jeremy was telling me about this show Dimension 20. You should check it out, it's amazing. Been watching these series, and I it was so far-flung an idea that I'd even have a D&D show, let alone be on D20. It's just absolutely incredible. And to be brought on by Abria, who I think has been an absolute bastion for like any POC in the space. It's just like Bria is like the gold standard, who is like dropping that ladder back down, helping everyone out, and to be brought on to like her
she's so
season,
tall she could pick us all up.
She really could. She could hold me in her arms and I'd be fine
really
with it.
Good.
It's yeah, absolutely. And it was just, it feels like a kind of extra special, I think, having been brought on by Abria. And to be sat at a black table that was like, you know, majority POC is huge, and feels incredible. So yeah, it felt overwhelming, and I've cried too many times, so I think I'm probably fine. I don't think I'll cry now, but that's because I've cried like 46 times over this series, probably.
And that's just the horrors that Abria has put you through in game.
Yeah.
In
Oh no, we're not
character.
even.
Yeah.
We're not even including
Yeah.
the horrors, because if we include the horrors, then that's going to rise to over 200. So we'll leave that out.
Away from the table, so many tears. At the
So
table,
many.
so many.
So
And
many tears.
I will say also that when I asked Abria later, and she's like, "Oh, I saw you doing your thing on Dropout, and I wanted you." And I didn't know if you knew how to play D&D, and I was willing to teach you, but then you showed up and just put your foot in it.
Yep.
Didn't need anybody to hold your hand. And I have questions.
No.
Yes.
You were trying to drop the hints to Brennan, and now you're his sister. So what was it like then getting to the table and having to build this familial relationship, this cheeky history of being young stoats together?
At first, I was really intimidated by it because there's so many talented people in the room. And when we first met, some of us were on Zoom, some of us were in person. And I'd gotten a chance to improvise with Izzy and Brennan. They invited me to come do a show with them. And I think the wackadoo energy that I love about improv, and that he and Izzy have burned into their, I don't know, blood. It just pumps through their veins. It worked out so well. It was just so much fun. And like, oh, I could go very silly with this person, but I also felt very comfortable that when we got to these emotional places that I was going to be taken care of. I believe I said out loud, "Oh my gosh, how are you so kind?" so many times to him, like turning to him like, "Oh my God, I'm being the worst sister. I'm thinking have these mean sister thoughts, and you're being so nice." I personally don't have any sisters, so that's a weird thing. And Brennan doesn't have any siblings to my knowledge. So we were both kind of just holding hands and jumping out into the abyss together and being like, do we want to fight or not?
Excellent. Here's the sister that you never knew that you wanted, but you always needed.
Friendly Mulligan is a sister that you never knew you needed.
Sisters.
Jasper, watching through the first episode, your roles were not that hot, and I know that it's always fun to hear from TTRPG players. Where are you in the dice superstition? Are you the type of person that came home and saged out those dice, or did you just keep rolling through it?
No, I definitely am I'm in the camp of keep rolling through, because I'm very much just like, it's the same reason that I don't believe in ghosts. It's because like if I let myself believe that they're real, it's going to fundamentally change who I am as a person. You know what I mean? Because it's like such a mind-blowing, mind-expanding thing. You know what I mean? To be like, whoa, they're around us all the time. You know, and I can't do that. So I just don't let myself. And it's the same thing with the dice. I'm like, if I start to actually believe that, like, if I moon these rocks, if I leave them out in moonlight and bathe them in salt water and whatever, then it's just never going to stop. You know what I mean? I'm going to be doing rituals within a week, and it's like I can't do that. But yeah, the dice rolls in episode 1, and honestly, episode 2, I think it also not great.
And you're sure you don't want to bathe your dice in moonlight?
Yeah, well, I think.
Did you get above a 10?
A lot of my like really non-consequential roles, like to intimidate, like, I don't know, it was like an animal handling check on the badger. I got like a 19. You know what I mean? But then it was like, so it was like I was rolling well occasionally. It's just when it mattered, it was just like, but honestly, though, looking back on it, I was absolutely miserable at the time, and I was just like, oh my God, I'm messing up on D20 because I'm rolling low. But like, honestly, I think in hindsight, I'm so glad that happened, because it really allowed me at the beginning of the series to lean into the genuine panic and worry that Thorne has for this new family, for his friends, the people that have followed him. And I think that had I been just sort of like ultra badass rolling nat 20s, I think it really would have presented me with like a problem, because I'd presented Thorne as this sort of slightly anxious over warrior, and I think, yes, he's very good in a crisis, and he's able to handle himself. I do think there's this whole extra layer now that he's not used to, which is having someone that he loves. Everyone who followed him previously was doing so kind of just out of like free will and out of a need to survive. And I think that introducing that element of like, no, you know, this someone's with you because they love you and they want to be near you, and this family hasn't chosen to be near you, they're just kind of near you by proxy. It's just like adds this whole other layer that I think he's contending with at the beginning. And I'm genuinely glad, like the natural one right before the dream sequence, you know, it was so perfect, and it really, like, honestly, the wheels came off at that point, and it was just like, it was more of a bobsled as opposed to like a car just going downhill. And I was just holding on and being like, let's see what happens.
That first episode did end in a word, traumatically, as the gas was coming, or the dust cloud was encroaching as you guys were escaping. What was going through your minds? You know, first episode, first time in the dome, and this is happening.
I genuinely think a very short answer for me, which is, I think I was in the same place that the audience was, where I was having so much fun up to that point. Just was like, look, we're just like a silly little goofy family. This is great. And like, I'd kind of forgotten who Abria was. You know what I mean? Like, I'd forgotten a little bit. So I was just like leaning in and enjoying that stuff. And then suddenly, like, I felt like the smog cloud was just like a good wake up call, a good reminder of like, here you go, strap in. And I was like, right, okay, we take this seriously now. Bria's gonna kill us all.
For me, when at the time sitting there at the table, I was just like, I really don't. Normally in my own personal D&D game, I'm kind of the one who's like, we should do this, and then this, and then this. We'll kind of talk it out. But at that time, I was like, I'm not the authority of this kind of group or in any way right now. So I'm just kind of frantically waiting to see what the group will decide to do. But then when I'm watching it at home as just a regular person, I like tapped the time. I was like, oh, they only got about 20 minutes left. Abria's gonna really fuck these guys up if they don't make a decision. Like, I was just watching it outside, like, man, that girl Rashawn is really stressed out. I don't know if she's gonna make it. Just watching, having an out-of-body experience. But like, the fear and the not anxiety, but the excitement of like, ooh, something is about to happen is still there. Like, I'm reliving it. Honestly.
Oh yeah, I don't remember a thing that happened, so I'm fully reliving this. Yeah, all the anxiety is going flooding back.
Oh my gosh.
Well, then I do also want to ask you about the feelings that came over you when the bear hit the table.
Oh man.
Okay, so I do remember they were like, okay, you guys, everybody has to get out. They like shoot us out of the room so they could set it up. But they're like, Shybok is gonna like, they're gonna film your reaction on your way in. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
and they were telling us like, okay,
yeah,
we're gonna see everything. So as soon as we hit the corner, I hear Erica just yell, yeah. And everyone's running as fast as they can to get to the table. And bears are my favorite animal. So this was a really shock and horror.
Tough.
One of my first D&D characters ever was a character named Barf Tavada, was just an anthropomorphic bear person. And I saw him laid out on the table and I was like, this is disgusting. It was so nasty, but it looked so real. And I wanted to touch everything. Rick Perry and his team are incredible. Incredible. The way, I mean, can we talk about how it changes?
Yeah, I'll just make sure that this goes up after episode 2 and put on a spoiler tag, and then they can't complain. Tell me about it. Yes, they open the bear.
When Bria's like, okay, yeah, it's a big bear. Oh, that's crazy. And then there are things inside of it. She like she's Polly pocketing this goddamn thing.
She waited for one of us to go in the hole.
Evil. She waited. She knew.
Was like, I was like,
get inside. And I'm telling you, man. Andrew, may I call you Andrew, Mr. Stretch?
Go for it.
The fucking heart just goes boom, 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 and it is pumping. The heart is pumping. Yeah. These nerds are dangerous. Okay. It looked so real and so disgusting, and I had to touch everything. It was great.
Yeah, you weren't quite as bad as Erica. Erica, true. I could feel Rick somewhere being like, Erica, please stop touching. Please don't touch. Please don't pull that bit. Please.
That's great. I think I'm chatting with Erica in an hour, so I'll be sure to ask her about all the things that she touched.
Yeah.
Ask them,
how many things did you touch?
one of the things I was most excited about was when they told me that it was going to be like there was going to be a full, we were going to have maps and everything, and I was like, oh, here we go, Rick. When that was on the table, very pragmatically, I remember the second I sat down, my biggest concern was like, okay, cool, bear, kind of messed up looking. Why can I see a slight seam around the skull of that skull comes off? That skull, and I didn't say anything, but I was freaking out. I was like, I could see something glowing, like a rim around the top, and I was like,
I thought those were bullet holes in the side of it, and she's like, no, the animals ate through it. What?
Ate through it.
What? What kind of dreams does this woman have?
Yeah, honestly, I had to drive home with Abria directly after this because I was staying with Abria at the time, and I had a lot of questions.
Are you okay?
Yeah, are you okay? Can you drop me a hotel on the way?
Maybe run by the stuffed animal store.
It was fully just incredible, and Rick is just like a genius. And honestly, Andrew, you haven't even seen the dopest stuff yet.
You haven't.
There's more. There's more, and trust me, if you think we've been places, we're gonna go places.
It was like we were so immersed in it. I only have a picture of the bear. Everything else, I was just like, this is crazy. I don't want to take a picture of it because I have to calm down from it. Yeah. If I look at this thing again, I will have my dreams will be haunted. This is crazy.
Yeah. Oh, man. Absolutely, fully.
Get into it. Oh my God.
I'm excited. I'm excited for everyone to see what's coming up because
they're good.
They can't top the bear, which is exactly what I said.
I also just saw Abria tweeting about like the having to put out the spoiler warnings as well. So that's crazy.
Abria and Rick told us both about the conversation they had, but they were like, we should really warn the cast about this one ahead of time because like as much as we don't want it to be spoilers, we do need for them to be ready. This is a lot.
And I went to barf at the table.
Yeah. And when they removed the liver to reveal more stuff in there, I was like, okay. I just ate lunch. I need to if you could just give me a second.
Oh
my God. Maria. Just a minute. I'm just gonna roll myself a Constitution saving throw.
I feel sorry for the sound person who just us all screaming.
Oh, truly, there is
screaming at the excitement.
Hopefully he was also one to like remove the headphones before.
Yeah, that would have been a good idea for sure.
Yeah.
Where can people find more of you, more of your work, and check you out on socials and other stuff?
Well, I'm on socials at Rashawn Scott. On that's Instagram and Twitter and all the things. I've got a short film going into some festivals. It's called The Burden. It's a sci-fi film where I play a judge who allows people who I want to say this clearly. I am an ethereal space judge who is allowing people into a new planet called Sokovia. Just kind of deciding who are the good and bad people of the world. You also check me out on Mystery County Monster Hunters Club, a podcast I run with friends. And Southside is on HBO. It's canceled, but we could still use you watching it, folks.
Yeah, and people can find me at JW_Cartwright. I am 1/3 of the Three Black Halflings, which is a podcast where we talk about diversity and inclusion within fantasy spaces. I'm a semi-regular guest host on Games and Feelings, the Performance Capture podcast, and I've just teamed up with another friend of Dimension 20, Zach Oyama, to bring back the Rotating Heroes podcast, of which I, from Arc 8, I'm going to be DMing, which is very exciting. We've actually recorded 2 arcs already, and if you stick around on our socials, you may see some familiar faces from the Burrow's Ender crew turning up for upcoming Rotating Heroes stuff. So yeah, very exciting.
Excellent, wonderful. Well, thank you guys again so much for taking the time to chat with me, and I'm really looking forward to checking out the rest of the season.
Thank you, Andrew. You were so fun. Have a great day.